The E20 rollout, touted as a big fuel reform policy, may not have gone the way it was expected among the voters. Roughly 53% of people who voted for the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance do not want to use E20 in their vehicles, and around half of them believe the mixture both reduces fuel efficiency and damages the engines. This is not what I am saying. This is Sea Water that has carried out a nationwide survey on July 8th and 9th on the E20 rollout. The sample size was around 1,641 people aged 18 and above. Respondents were asked questions ranging from support for the government's ethanol petrol blending program to its financial and oil policy implications, and so much more. In fact, all the data and the graphics would keep coming on your screen. You'll be able to get a sense of what really the survey findings are. Very interesting. I'm being joined by Tutu Dhawan at this point, who's an automobile expert. Thank you very much, sir. Good evening. So, Mr. Tutu, how do you really look at this, Mr. Dhawan? You know, this survey findings, it seems even those who voted for the government are skeptical, not happy. It's a small sample. It's 1,200, 1,600 people sample for that matter. But even if you were supposed to take the sample as such or even get a sentiment from across the country, there are concerns, there's confusion. How do you look at it?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that before this fuel was officially launched, not enough was given to the public to be able to make them aware of the pros and cons of this fuel and why why not this fuel should be used. Now it's unfortunate, this has now gone into a political debate where who is suffering is the common man. In fact, if the government had taken a firm stand, and if they had, even now, they have a chance of informing the general public of the pros and cons of this, including, on all petrol stations, a nice notice being written there as to what the good things and what the bad things are of this fuel. And of course, if there was some sort of a rebate given to them in turn of using E20, which is supposed to be a little cheaper than the petrol itself, things would have not reached this stage. And people would have been happy as well. But now, since it has reached a stage where individually you cannot go and explain things to the general public, so it is now left to the social media and, of course, whatever is left in the media by itself, audio or visual, is what is teaching them the good and the bad things of these fuels.
Right. Mr. Tutu Dhawan, what's the way forward at this point? There's confusion, there is concerns, there's misinformation, and there is information, and most importantly, there's distrust, if that's a word. And I'm using that very responsibly because, there's a lack of trust. Who's saying what? Whose side is saying what side? Are we supposed to trust them? Are we not supposed to trust them? Is the government speaking the truth? Are the influencers saying the truth? What's with the engine? What's with the mileage? There just seems to be so much of distrust, and I'm not using the word mistrust, I'm using the word distrust.
That is just the problem. It's just a distrust that has reached a situation where there is confrontation. Now, to reduce the concentration, even now we have a chance of informing the general public what the good points and the bad points of this fuel are, and what are the savings for the government, and what is going to be the saving for the general public. Now, if the general public is also to participate in the saving factor, I am sure, they will understand the pros and cons. And since the government is now adamant of not rolling out the original fuel to the public, so they should make the people aware of what would happen to the BS4 and before technology vehicles. How should they be saved from any damage or further damage? Because they may still have maybe 5 years or 10 years of life left, especially in the NCR, where there is 10 and 15 years life for a normal vehicle. So I'm sure in 2020 and before vehicles, they still have some life. And if they owners come to know of how to save their vehicles and what they should do, I'm sure they will also participate in that.
Um, is there a concern about engine? Because you have different people saying different things. As somebody who's an automobile expert himself, there seems to be difference in how this the E20 version has been introduced across the world, in parts where it has been introduced for that matter. But when it comes to India, are our vehicles ready for this?
You see, our vehicles starting from 2020 onwards were all ready for this E20 fuel. And 2025, I understand that this fuel has already been used in our system, knowingly or unknowingly. Now, as long as the general public did not know of the fact that we've been using 1% ethanol, 2% ethanol, 3%, and then finally 10%, there was no issue at all. But it is only when it was announced that 20% ethanol will be used, and the government have not informed the general public of the negative effects of this fuel or the positive effects of this fuel. The problem is only that's when it all started in confrontation with the government. If this is still displayed to the general public of the how to go around it, it may still be a good idea. Now, in fact, if you want me to explain to the general public, I don't mind. Anything you before Euro 4, you need to put some additives to save your vehicles if they are being parked for longer than 3 to 6 months. Then that's the time when the depreciation of the engine performance starts. And if they don't use it for a longer time, there are chances of the hygroscopic nature of the fuel, which may damage the engine further, that it may not crank after 6 months or a year totally. Although these experiments are not being done, so I'm only telling you from my own experience. When we park vehicles normally for longer durations, this is what happens to our old engines. Engines which have got carburetors and which don't have, they are not compatible with Euro 1, Euro 2, and Euro 3 philosophies. They are the ones who get damaged most, and in fact, they seize after a couple of months of non-use. With moisture in the fuel, they will get jammed, and they have to be opened to again restart them. And if that be the condition, you can use additives to support this fuel. Also, if you don't use the additives, if you use 2T oil to the percentage of 0.05% of 2T oil, which we use normally in two-stroke engines as a substitute for the additive, this will also help. And this will also keep the upper cylinder, which is usually dry of any oil and lubricant in the engine, that will get lubrication, and any negative impact will be taken away with the little bit layer of the oil that is inside.
Right. I think it's going to be a long road ahead for the government to be able to take people into trust, to be able to roll this out, and obviously to be able to fight misinformation in a way that people can actually trust them. And I think that's going to be very critical for the rollout of this policy as well. Mr. Tutu Thavan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.